Where the spirit of 1.8 million West Virginians wills you to victory. Other places have pro teams, but in this state, the Mountaineers are a way of life.
When I competed and wore that number, I competed for the state and for the people, not just for the university.
Now, let's roll out the carpet and bring on the Mountaineers.
Pittsburgh spree.
Yes! Alexander. Robinson comes goal. It's a dunk right in his pin.
Send it in, Joe.
Butler into the lane, into traffic. It goes again. West Virginia has won its first Big East championship.
So long, Big Blue. Hello, Golden Blue. The West Virginia Mountaineers are going to the Final Four.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into the WVU basketball postgame reaction show following the West Virginia Mountaineers getting back on the winning side with an 85-64 win over Navy in their return home, first home game since they played Penn, going into a little bit of a home stretch now. But the win over Navy improves the Mountaineers to 7-2 thus far in the 2022-2023 West Virginia men's basketball season. Appreciate you guys tuning in on any one of the Country Roads platforms you're tuned in on here. I'm live on the Country Roads webcast, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch currently. If you're watching this live or if you're catching on a playback, go ahead and get this out of the way. Do us a favor. Hit the thumbs up button if you're watching on the YouTube. Really helps this video's performance, and it'll help future videos' performances as well. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. That being said, as always, encourage you guys, please drop any questions, comments, concerns you have in regards to this WVU basketball game or the WVU basketball team at large. Anything you want to talk about WVU related, drop it in the chat there. Touch on some of your all's comments and thoughts as we continue throughout this brief post-game episode. Trying to do these little live post-game reactions here following the basketball games as much as possible, but looking at some of the numbers, and then I'll give kind of some of my thoughts and catch up on some of your all's comments. Like I said, please continue to drop them in there if you're in here live. Appreciate that. But field goal percentage-wise, both teams, 55% for the Mountaineers from the field, 46% for Navy. Three-point range, the Mountaineers shot the ball a little bit better, 45%, well, basically 46% to Navy's 39%, held the midshipmen to 9 of 23 from three-point range. Surprisingly, Navy only shot 8 free throws, and they were 3 of 8, 37%, terrible free throw percentage. West Virginia, not the best at the free throw line either, 10 of 16, 62%. I think the Mountaineers do need to improve at the line. That's one thing I can say thus far in the season. I think rebounding pleasantly, I don't want to say pleasantly surprised, but I guess pleasantly pleased, if I can say that. West Virginia out-rebounding Navy by 15. I think that's kind of what you expected. Rebounding's been a bit of a mixed bag at times this year, as has defense. And I think in this game, the Mountaineers struggled at times defensively. Well, I don't know if I want to say they struggled, but it just wasn't what we were used to seeing from this team. Navy played really sound, fundamental basketball and didn't turn the ball over a lot, only had 9 turnovers. West Virginia had 9 themselves, so not getting the advantage there that they want. But ultimately, in the end, West Virginia was able to pull away and secure an 85-64 victory over Navy. Get into more of the individual numbers and kind of my overall thoughts real quick here in a second. Let's see if we've got anybody in the chat here live this evening. Dr. Piv, what's going on, man? Good to see you in here as always. He says, not just winning, covering. Yeah, that was, early on, I thought they're for sure going to cover this. Then got early into the second half, and Navy went on that run and got it within 10 for a little bit there. And then it was single digits, and then West Virginia kind of finally stretched it out. And then once it hit about 8 minutes or so, West Virginia really took control and never looked back and was able to, I think it was 18-point spread, right, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, win that with a 21 to cover that. I didn't get to do a CRW Hoops podcast episode before this one, but That what I was kind of hoping for was a 20-plus point victory. I thought West Virginia had much better team than this Navy squad. That's why I was kind of frustrated at times during the game, but I think ultimately in the end they pulled it together when it mattered most there late in the second half. So, yep, definitely. That's what's the old saying that they always say: good teams win, great teams cover. So, verdict's still out on that if West Virginia is truly a great team, but in that regard they did cover. But as far as their performance, there's just a couple things I think the Mountaineers need to get better at. Just slipped my mind what I was going to say, but defensively in this game, I thought that they were a little bit out of sorts at times. I don't know if it was the rotation, too late on the help defense, whatever it was, but specifically that Benini guy was really hurting West Virginia. It's not the first time one of these guards from lower level schools hurt West Virginia this year and scored highly on them, but all in all, it was a good overall defensively, but I think there were times where we saw some kinks in the armor that, we've seen from this West Virginia team at times. I think that that's what we need to improve on as a team moving forward is defensively, specifically on ball defense. I thought you saw Navy in this game go to a lot of that high ball screen, high pick and roll that Xavier really had some success with against the Mountaineers. And in doing so, they had some success with it as well early on. West Virginia adjusted to it, I think, and I think that's something West Virginia's going to have to continue to improve on because I think people are going to see that, that way that Xavier used that, and other teams are going to try and use that as well, as did, Purdue. So I think West Virginia, needs to continue to improve defensively. There certainly was some bright spots, and I think overall they do some good things. And, you can't really nitpick too much over a 21-point victory. But that's, one of the things that stood out to me. But, just looking at some of the numbers individually for Navy, the one good thing West Virginia I thought did do defensively was holding Nelson, who had been Navy's leading scorer, averaging almost 15.5 points a game, held him to only 6 points, 3 rebounds. He was 2 of 8 from the field, 2 of 6 from the three-point line. Great job there. But, like I said earlier, the Benini guy really hurt West Virginia, 8 of 10 from the field, 1 of 1 from the three-point line, 20 points. He was really hurting West Virginia with some straight line drives, especially coming off that pick and roll situation that's hurt West Virginia at times this season. Going to have to continue to improve that. As far as West Virginia, though, individual numbers, I think Trey Mitchell, 19 and 6. But anyone else think there was a quiet 19 for Trey? I think he's just so, smooth with his game that sometimes he's got 15, 16 points and you don't even realize it. But he had a good day again. 19 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 of 12 from the field, 3 of 4 from the three-point line. Emmett Matthews, like I've said, time and time again, to me, he's just the glue guy of this team, kind of the heart, if you will. But 9 points, 4 rebounds. Eric Stevenson, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, but 4 personal fouls. And that's the one negative I think you can say about Eric Stevenson thus far is we got to find a way to keep him out of foul trouble because he's really helps the Mountaineers a lot when he's on the floor, but he's been in foul trouble every game. And so if we can somehow find a way to keep him out of foul trouble, it's going to really help us, moving forward in the season. Kedrian Johnson played a great game, I thought, as did Joe Toussaint. I want to talk about both those guys for a second, as Kedrian's numbers, 11 points, 7 assists. Joe Toussaint, 12 points, 7 assists. So between your two guards there, 20 points and 14 assists. Great performances from your point guards. I really like bringing Joe Toussaint off the bench. I know a lot of people have talked about maybe he has the capability to be a starter. I'm not arguing that he doesn't, but I think that just having that spark off the bench is always good. And we've seen that from Huggins teams in the past, whether it was, Jay Sean Page a few years ago, or you can go back further than that to other guys that have done it as well. But having that spark off the bench is good with your second team because I think, especially you could see it in a game like this. I think West Virginia's depth is what ultimately won this game and wore Navy down. When Navy kept trying to make runs and get back into the game, West Virginia, had the depth, more depth than Navy did when Navy got in foul trouble and things started to go awry for them. Other than that, for the Mountaineers, Josiah Harris, I was excited for some of the things we saw from him. We've heard that he was a great shooter. I believe it was in the scrimmage. We saw him, hit a couple good shots. But, when he had played throughout this season a lot, he hadn't really shot the ball too much, especially in the recent games that he played in. But in this game, he finally did, shoot the ball a little bit, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 1 or 2 from the three-point line, 2 or 3 from the field. Waggy, only played 12 minutes, but still better numbers than last time, but it didn't take much to do so. 2 points, 1 rebound. Jimmy Bell, 6 rebounds, 3 points, 1 of 5 from the field after, having a hot day from the field of the Mountaineers last game. He kind of came back to earth a little bit field goal percentage wise, but still good numbers. And I still think Jimmy Bell's a guy that's going to continue to get better. He's still improving. I think you can say that about a few guys on the Mountaineers roster. Mo Waggy, this is only his second year playing basketball. Jimmy Bell's still developing. And, it's a lot of new pieces still trying to gel. I think that this stretch that West Virginia's on right now, beginning with this game against Navy and then continuing on over these next couple games where the Mountaineers will be at home playing in the Coliseum, is going to really be big for the rest of the season moving forward for the Mountaineers. To gel and kind of get some of the kinks worked out before they hit conference play, and hopefully get Jose Perez in there. I'd love to get him in there soon. Hopefully we'll hear some news on that here in the coming weeks. But that's just kind of my overall thoughts and a little bit of a look at the numbers overall. But I'm going to go to the chat here with you guys and catch up on y'all's comments before I jump out of here before too much longer. Like you guys know, I like to keep these basketball post-game reactions a little bit shorter, try and keep them about 15, 20-minute range if I can. But I'm going to drop a CRW Hoops podcast episode, probably talk a little bit more about this game, definitely talk a little bit more about, Saturday's game as well, because I'm planning on hopefully dropping that episode Sunday or Monday. But, of course, before that, I'll have a basketball post-game show for Saturday's game as well. But then I'm going to have a CRW Hoops podcast episode that'll be a little bit longer where I'll talk more in depth about this game and Saturday's a little bit. So if this is a little bit shorter, apologies, but try and keep these post-game reaction shows a little bit more brief. But catch up on your all's comments before we get up out of here for this one. Dr. Piff says Joe Toussaint saved the game with that last three, or saved the Gamblers with that last three, rather. Yeah, definitely. Bad beat, I guess, if you were on the other side of that one and we're taking Navy, but on that cover. But I think, like I said, the spread was 18. He hit the three to put it exactly to 21. So, indeed, some people probably cussing, maybe breaking TVs or something like that over that one. Hate to see those bad beats, but hey, that's why you gotta stay away. That's my thing. If you're gonna gamble, do your thing. But I try and stay away from betting on the Mountaineer games. They break my heart enough. I don't want to involve wanting to break my heart monetarily as well. Mountaineer Hoops, what's going on, Kenny? So we are 7-2, Kenny. Let me flash that graphic up there. Actually, 7-2. Xavier and Purdue. Kenny says, did Jose Perez play any? No, still waiting on to hear back from the NCAA on his waiver. Once they hear back from the NCAA, he'll be cleared and can practice and play. He's with the team. He just can't practice or play officially till he's cleared by the NCAA, but he's there. He's in Morgantown, and they're just playing the waiting game. They're hoping by conference play, so I'm hoping to hear something in the next, couple of weeks, Kenny. We'll see what happens, but I think, they were hoping by conference play, so hopefully by the end of the month, we should for sure know something, and at the very latest, I think see him on the court next month in January, hopefully. Dr. Piff says Toussaint may not start, but he will finish many games. Indeed, I'd agree with that. And I love him with the ball in his hands, especially in transition situations. I know sometimes it seems like he's out of control, but I think he's just so fast with the ball. And Huggins has even said as much in the past that, he's really quick with his ball handling and super fast when he has the ball in his hands. And you can see it out there on the court. I really like Toussaint, and I think Keedy showed something tonight as well. I think, Keedy's been a mixed bag at times, and I think some would say the same about Toussaint, but I think West Virginia has really solid guards in both those guys. When you got seniors, two senior point guards, both great defensively. Well, at times, we've seen them struggle a little bit with that pick and roll situation, but they're both great on-ball defenders generally, both get steals, both take charges. And the thing I really liked about Toussaint, and the thing that I thought really encapsulated this team and kind of their energy and what they're all about, is there's 60 seconds left in the game. West Virginia's up by 21 points, and Joe Toussaint takes a charge. He didn't have to do that. You could have let the guy score, anything, but, still playing the game the way the Hugs wants it to be played, down to the last minute, hustling to the last second, giving the maximum effort, even when the game's already, sold. And that's what you love to see. And that's kind of one of the things that stood out to me and why I love, guys like Joe Toussaint and many players on this team. And I think this is going to be a really good team this year. I'd agree with your comment here, Kenny, that says we're really good this year. Yeah, I would agree. Mountaineer Hoops said Kuz looked like he was at the game. Oh man, I'm jealous if so. Very likely. I know he was traveling yesterday. I think when he put out his video about JT Daniels, I know he was in the car on that one. So it's possible. I don't know. He could have been, traveling for another reason, but he may have been there. If so, I'm jealous. I'll have to message him and see. I haven't talked to him in a couple of days, but yeah, lucky if so. Speaking of Coos, y'all definitely go check out Kenny's channel there, Mountain Lair Hoops there. Kenny has doing some good things. But also check out Coos and Mountaineer Paul, who I'm sure you guys know if you follow, West Virginia stuff here on YouTube. You probably follow, if you follow us at the Country Roads Webcast, I'm sure you follow Coos' Corner and Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. They teamed up for a basketball channel, Hoops from the Hills. They're trying to grow that thing up. So if you guys haven't already, more WV basketball content can be found there. Go sub them up on YouTube at Hoops from the Hills. Dr. Piff says, thanks for the chat. Go Mountaineers anytime, Dr. Piff. Always be back here Saturday night post-game for that one. I'm going to do a Q&A stream, just kind of, in general, talk about whatever, W football, W basketball. I know there'll probably be some transfer stuff to talk about here soon, whether it's guys committing that are coming in, more guys coming out on the football side, but definitely going to be more chat opportunities coming up in the near future. So pop back in. I know you always will. Appreciate you. Mountaineer Hoop says, thanks for coming. Hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss content. Great plug there, Kenny. Appreciate you putting that in there in the chat. Yes, everyone, if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. And also that notification bell if you are subscribed. It's right there by the subscribe button. But it really helps notify you when we go live. I know like this one is scheduled ahead of time. Usually all the post-game reactions you'll know ahead of time. It'll already show up on YouTube. But there are occasional times where, got some free time or something. Maybe I want to just pop up, do a random Q&A stream unannounced, not pre-scheduled. And if you got that notification bell clicked, it'll let you know when those start up. You'll get a notification right there, a little push notification on your phone. So, yeah, great plug, Kenny. Really appreciate that. But yeah, you guys, if you're in here on YouTube, whether you're watching this live or if you're catching this on a playback, go ahead, drop us a like if you would before you head out. That'll really help this video's performance and help future video performances as well. As for the final score, one more time in the 9th game of the 2022-2023 West Virginia men's basketball season, West Virginia defeats Navy 85-64 back at the Coliseum for the first time in December. 21-point victory, covering the spread as they start this home stretch. Another game coming up Saturday. We'll be back for the post game for that one as well. As it stands right now, West Virginia currently 7-2 on the year. Excited for some more Mountaineer basketball coming up, and we'll be back to talk with you guys about it here in the near future on the Country Roads webcast. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.